inspiration to do more research on this topic. I discovered that many uncommon and unknown facts about this topic. They include high rate of habitual use, high rates of arrest for simple possession, and the revenue the government can gain if it is legalized. Now let's start with a brief history about the drug we know as marijuana. The scientific name for marijuana is cannabis. It comes from the family Cannabicaceae. According to the Global Hemp, there are 5 discovered uses for the plant. These include hempen fibers, oils from the seeds for food, a medicine for its narcotic properties. Cannabis is one of the oldest crops used for cultivation and was found to be cultivated in China as early as 4000 BC. That's a long time. Cannabis is used in many countries for medicinal purposes. According to the Global Hemp, in Africa, cannabis was used for diarrhea and fevers. Some tribes still use the plants to treat snake bites, and women often smoke it before childbirth. In 1619, Jamestown Colony in Virginia passed a law that required all farmers to grow hemp, otherwise known as cannabis. In 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was passed, making the possession and transfer of cannabis illegal. Claim marijuana should be decriminalized and used for medicinal and recreational purposes because of its benefits and to those with certain elements. The 2 main components of marijuana that are beneficial medicinally are THC and CBD. According to drugreviews.gov, THC increases appetite and reduces nausea, decreases pain, inflammation, and muscle control problems. CBD does not affect the mind and is useful in reducing pain, inflammation, controlling epileptic seizures, and treating mental illnesses and addiction. So if you're worried about marijuana or the THC in marijuana causing you to have a high or not being able to function, there's also another part in marijuana called CBD, which scientists now in medicinal marijuana, they're trying to focus more on the CBD part of marijuana so that it can reduce the high effects of people and still give medical benefit to those with certain problems. You would be surprised to know how many people get arrested for having less than an ounce of marijuana when compared to the number of people arrested for violent crimes. As some of you may know, in Georgia they have a zero tolerance law. I'm not sure if it's going to be taken away now since they're battling the fact of whether it should be used for medicinally in Georgia. But yeah, they have a zero tolerance law. According to drugwarfacts.org, in 2009, 58,408 marijuana arrests were made, and only 581,756 arrests were made for violent crimes. That's a huge difference. If the government put the money it spent on arresting nonviolent people smoking weed, combined with the amount of potential tax revenue from legalizing and regulation distribution, we could slow the deficit and plug up many state budgets. California NORML estimates that a legally regulated market for marijuana could lead at least $1.2 billion in tax revenue and reduce enforcement costs. As you may know, the manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcohol was once banned from 1920 through 1933. This was known as the Prohibition era. This was done because of many temperance movements that were formed, causing many states to ban alcohol, eventually resulting in federal ban. The prohibition of alcohol did more harm than it did good. According to druglibrary.org, the amount of arrests made in Philadelphia in 1919 was 75,618. The amount of arrests made in 1923 was 115,399. And from there, it began to increase each year thereafter. So you see that in 1919, before alcohol became illegal, the crime rates were lowered, and after they made alcohol illegal, the crime rates increased. Mark Thornton writes in Policy Analysis that alcohol became more dangerous to consume. Crime increased and became organized. The court and prison systems were stretched to a breaking point, and corruption of public officials were rampant. Not only did the prohibition increase crime rates, it also removed tax revenue and increased government spending. After the prohibition was repealed, alcohol was no longer banned, the crime rates lowered and got better. According to Anthony Gregory in the Independent Institute, after the prohibition was repealed by the 21st Amendment, the crime rate steadily declined back to the pre-prohibition levels. Now, if you take this and apply it to the decriminalization of marijuana, we would be able to lower crime rates just as we did during the alcohol prohibition era, just with a safer substance. People may argue that marijuana use has effects on the brain, such as altered sense of time, changes in mood, and impaired body movements. But so does alcohol, which has little to no effects on the body, little to no positive effects on the body. Marijuana smoke affects the lungs, similar to smoking tobacco. But there are other ways of ingesting marijuana and by ingesting marijuana in a different form, this will totally eradicate the effects that it has on the lungs. To conclude, the decriminalization of marijuana would not only benefit the people of the country, but it would also benefit the government greatly.
Run for all.